Okay, we're recording now. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'm present. Ken?
Present.
Erica?
Hello, I'm here.
Hi. Raphael?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
And Bernie?
Yes, here.
Thank you. Meg has a family appointment, I believe, so will not be joining us tonight. I believe Pat Lloyd from Collins Center. Oh, yeah, you're here. Excellent. Let me bring you into the room. Promote to panelist. Let me know if you get that. Pat. There we are. Perfect. Hello. Oh, there you are. Perfect. Uh, so I will start us right off, just with a few announcements. The first announcement is that I'll be going on the radio tomorrow at 2 o'clock, to discuss our committee's proceedings. And this is at the recording studio on in Northampton. If anyone wants to join, you're welcome to. I can send you the address and the details, but this is tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
UHMP.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
With I believe his
I
name.
sent that narrative while we're talking here.
Perfect. Thank you. That
I hopefully sent the right one.
we have our last meeting on the 29th at 6 p.m. So that'll be our final meeting, where the final report will be due and voted on. We're on our way to getting caught up on minutes. Meg has not sent the November 13th minutes yet, but I have received the November 20th minutes, the November 26th minutes, the December 4th minutes, and the December 11th minutes. Ken just sent the December 4th minute, so maybe wait till next meeting. If that makes sense with folks, that's what Ken said in his email. But I will make the motion to approve the November 20th, November 26th, and December 11th minutes as a group. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Excellent. Any comments, questions? No?
Oh,
Okay.
could you hold for just a moment? Marcus is in the audience. I'm trying to bring him in before you vote.
Yep.
There we go. And did you say the last meeting was Monday, the 29th?
Yes. That's
Okay, just confirming.
Yep, at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Hi, Marcus. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. I was just sharing that I'm going on the radio tomorrow to discuss our committee and our final report at 2 o'clock in Hampton, and that Bernie just sent the narrative for the final report. And the only other thing is we are in the middle of approving minutes. December 4th, we're going to hold off on. Ken just sent them. We'll vote those at our next meeting. And November 13th, Meg has not sent yet. But we have a motion to approve the 20th, the 26th, and the 11th. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any comments before we vote? Nope. Okay. Myself, I'm an aye. Ken?
Excuse me. Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Bernie?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
And Erica?
Yes.
Excellent. So we will approve the 13th, hopefully, and the 4th. Currently, so we'll approve those at the next meeting. Minute taker for tonight is back to Raphael. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So at this point, we will move forward with public comment. Just a reminder to the committee that the last minutes that are outstanding as of our meeting on the 29th, send them to me and I'll approve of them. Public comment. I only see, oh no, I see two people. Okay. Would anyone like to raise their hand and offer a comment? Anita, go right ahead. Anita Saul, let me just make sure you can speak.
Yes.
Yep.
Anita Sarah, District 5. I was thinking about the public forum and the discussion yesterday, and I'm still wondering, I know there was more than one comment about translation as being necessary and more than desirable. And I believe it was Julian who explained that it was considered and voted down. And I'm wondering if it seems to me to be such so fundamentally related to the issues of transparency and communication that has come up, that if you still continue to feel that it is not something to recommend, then I would urge you to include that rationale in the addendum. And the other is, as I listened to the comments at public forum, I went back and I listened to the previous meeting where there was a discussion in anticipation of the public forum, and it seemed to suggest that the comments might be listened to politely, but not really acted on. And I was left with some confusion about what this committee felt was really the purpose of the public forum. If it was not to really take in the comments and discuss them in a meaningful way. And I may have misinterpreted that previous conversation, but it was a little troubling. So I just wanted to share those two comments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anita. I will just say we have an item on the agenda to raise some of the issues brought up at the public forum and discuss those tonight. So I hope that provides some clarity. And the town does have pocket translators, but we have not, we did vote down, including it as a requirement in the charter, which is, I will not elaborate on my opinion of that, but thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Please raise your hand. Nope. Okay. So I am now going to move us right along. We don't have any outreach or feedback subcommittee updates, I'm assuming. Nope. Great. So I will turn it right over to you, Bernie, and Marcus, if you want to chime in to report on the narrative and any progress you've made. And we can also discuss, I think me and Andy both volunteered to be of assistance if it's needed.
Yeah, let me, I've emailed a copy to everybody. I'm not, sadly, I'm not ready to, I'm not able right at this moment to screen share it. I can attempt to do that and a little bit later on, but basically,
I can try to screen share it here. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, you'll find it in your email.
Yep, it's not going to come out beautifully, but it will come up.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Great.
So this is this basically follows the same outline as the preliminary report did. Uses the same headings. The content changes are in the paragraphs below, where there's some I basically rewrote and revised those the general information, the charter review committee charter, tried to expand it a little bit or just play with it a little bit. And then, I guess my feeling was the preliminary document was pretty good to begin with. So this is trying to just improve on it a bit. Folks can read this over. The two things that are missing here is a paragraph regarding the public forum, which I can add into following this discussion tonight. The other thing that's missing are the votes. I think there needs some clarity as to where they go. They go into the table. I didn't revise any wording in the table. That remains the same. So where do the votes go? And is it just simply a numeric vote, or is it a roll call vote? I'm still, not seeing the need for that information, because this is basically a consensus document at this point, and will be after the next meeting. I'm hoping that there won't be any dissents after we're finished with this. But this would be a header over the tables that were done by Andy, I believe, that had the language, or it has the actual language in it, the explanations, the rationale, and then that would be followed by the addendum. And I think we're going to talk about calling the addendum something else, because that sounds pretty prosaic. So this is it. This is basically the cover pages. Folks are free to send me comments if you choose.
I'm making extremely minor edits as I read through here. I hope you don't mind.
Okay. No, you can see where it's track changes around in the document, so you can see where I made things.
Yeah, I'm just changing, adding an E, etc. Nothing major.
No pride of authorship here, folks. Folks can dig this part.
I just wanted to make sure so people weren't freaking out, like, oh, you're changing it without the committee.
No. So, like I said, you need to add a paragraph about the public forum, and summarize this meeting, whatever we come to in this meeting. That'll conclude the cover document. Add in the votes, and again, where and how detailed. I also sent everybody this afternoon I took a shot at doing the minutes of the forum. So we have a document, minutes of the forum. You've got that document, which again, people are free to use or not. I just thought it might be handy to do a summary of what we said and what we heard the other night.
Just going to keep scrolling down so folks can read this. Let me know if I'm going too fast.
No, you've seen this before, because this is verbatim from the preliminary document. None of those recommendations changed unless we changed them tonight.
Yep. Excellent. Yep. This all looks the same. Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to fix the tables.
But, that's okay.
I haven't been able to get it quite right.
I had an awful time with it.
The format and the tables will look different. It looks different in the document than it does on this screen. So
yeah, it was challenging for me.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, the only thing that was done with the tables here was spell check.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah. I'm trying to change the orientation back to landscape so we can get a wider picture of them.
But it's in the document that Bernie sent has it, and it changes the landscape. So
it did.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it earlier today, it wasn't. So you must have done anything.
You had the open doc version, I think.
It all depends on what software you're opening it with.
Yeah,
As
if you open it in Word, it looks okay.
Yeah, and I open everything in
Damn
Google
it,
Docs, so
Google Docs,
awful.
Google Documents was messing.
Yeah, that's gonna
Raphael?
mess it up.
Yeah, I apologize to everybody, but Word is one of those things that I started with and I'm stuck with.
That's okay. I'm the same way with Google Docs, so it's a matter of once you get trained on something, you can't go back.
Yeah, it's easier to format in Word, I think, but
Yeah. Raphael?
So I think in looking at this, some work to do tonight. I think in the sort of recommended changes, original charter language, there's some work we need to do with rationale. I'm not sure all of them have, I think, robust enough details about rationale. So that's one thing that needs to be attended to. I'm going to circle back to a public comment that was made and connected to our last meeting. We made a decision. I'm not sure it's reflected in the minutes that some of the things that were raised at the forum and additional feedback that has come in would be considered for the addendum. If people go back to that discussion, there's some reasons for why. So I think we really need to grapple with that tonight in terms of what else is included and why. So just want to make sure that's centered in terms of getting folks the things that they'll need to complete this final report.
Thank you. Andy?
yeah, I'm actually remembering that when we were preparing the slides, Raphael, you prepared the slides,
Yeah.
one for each of the individual things, and then you put in, we need a rationale for a number
Yeah.
of them. And
Yeah.
then I went through and put a rationale in for them. And I think we may have rationales in the slides that are not in the chart. So we might want to look at those and just see if those are okay to put in the chart.
Yeah, I raised it, Andy, and I put like, it's great that you put them in, but it's good for everybody to know. And I was asking, is this our collective rationale based on whatever's come in? I think we need to think about that.
Yeah. And I left is this the collective rationale language? And then somebody took it out so that we could have the slides to show. So
It was me.
okay.
Because I thought we were going to show them, but
Yeah.
That's okay.
So there's proposed language there, but we haven't collectively agreed upon it. So
yeah, that'll be helpful.
I think it would be good for us to just, up, down vote on those proposed rationales.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment my own. I think looking at the report, obviously we need to add to some of the rationales, like Raphael was saying. The narrative itself looks pretty good. The table of contents looks pretty good. I think it's going to be important that in this report we include all the public comments we've gotten. We include any items that we will vote tonight that we heard at the public forum in the table. We obviously include the addendum with any edits that we decide to make to it or additions, and that we include the memo from the Collins Center as well as all of the language that they provided us, and the sort of filtered, like we could give the unfiltered list of public comments, but I would almost rather make that its own attachment just because of all of A, how long it is, and B, because of like some of it is AI or some of it is this or some of it is that. And it might be worth it to sort of put it somewhere else.
It's linked in the narrative.
Okay. Yep.
There's a link in the narrative, and I think that rather than try to publish that whole thing, leaving the link there, anyone who wants to dive into it can find it. It's well organized, but it's large, it sprawls, and it's repetitive.
Yep. Marcus, and then Andy.
Yeah, sorry. I was actually just going to kind of say the same as Bernie. I think publishing that as part of the report would make the report, hundreds of pages long, because there's all that AI minute taking stuff and all that sort of thing that's in there. So yeah, if we can attach it, and that's what I thought we had agreed to, was kind of, almost like have a folder on our website that says, here's the public comments, here's the Collins stuff, just lay it out and not actually include it in the report, because even the preliminary report with the Collins, it's kind of like, okay, great. And so what? I think we need to just keep it as an attachment or put them in a folder somewhere that we link to and make people aware of.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, we have the all the comments that were submitted to a certain date in a document that's linked to right now. But I did notice that in the ones that Athena sent us recently, there are some ones that are not in that document. So that would, I think, putting those into that document and then having that be the one that's linked to on our web page would make sense. So to make sure that that's a complete list. And that document includes the survey responses as well as public comment, as well as everything that's been submitted by people through the link, through the web page.
Yeah, Erica?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question about which pieces of the work that remains to be done are we going to try to accomplish tonight? Because I wanted to raise an issue about the contents of the addendum and responding to what we heard at the public forum in the addendum as we sort of had originally sketched out. But I want to give it some time, and so I just want to understand what pieces of work we're going to try to accomplish tonight overall.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. So our next agenda item is this, basically, which our next agenda item is to vote on the issues that were raised at the public forum. So Andy was kind enough to compile a great spreadsheet for us that basically, I would call it better than a notes document. It's more detailed than that. But it raised basically the substantial issues that were brought up during the public forum that could be amended and added right into the charter at this process. So it made really editable suggestions out of what we heard at the forum, and there's 4 or 5 of them. Andy, would you mind screen sharing that?
Sure.
That's great. And my thought was that we'll vote on all of those, and depending on the votes, it will either go into the addendum, go into the report itself, or be discarded, and then we'll make those edits in the final report, and do all the other stuff that I mentioned offline, off of the meeting, as well as hear a sort of summary from Pat, who's here, and get her advice on these issues as needed, since we're sort of doing it currently. Does that make any sense, Erica?
Yeah, we're going to vote on these
Yep.
items and then move on to other issues.
Yep. Exactly. So thank you for screen sharing, Andy. It does not show up well on my computer.
Oh, really?
No, but I was able to read it and stuff. It just doesn't show up like in one thing. Sort of split apart, but this is great. So
do you want me to walk through the document and give an overview, or do you want to
I think that would be better, just because it wasn't posted in the packet for members of the public. That would be best. Yeah.
Can everybody else see this okay? I mean,
Yeah, I actually I've got a copy here.
Okay.
I have a copy on my phone I'm looking at.
Damn.
I'll make sure that it's the right size. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are a few sections here. The first one was about the notion of, there's sort of 2 things in it. One is that if a meeting is held in hybrid or remote format, the chair should announce how many people are present, or maybe maybe there's a technological way of, maybe we just say that the number of people present should be known or something like that. I don't know exactly how we want to do it because the number is going to change throughout the meeting. But if there's some way of letting people know how many people are present, that seemed to be something people are interested in. And then there was also the thing about all audience members participating, via video should be offered the opportunity to be visible while speaking. So if somebody's making a comment, it would be good for them to be able to be visible. And I know that we'd had concern about Zoom bombing, so I added a sentence about in the event of malicious intrusion by non-recognized individuals, visible participation may be revoked. This may be more than we need, but so those were the things about knowing who's there and being able to see who's speaking was sort of that category. The next one was about the application process, and we heard from one respondent or one community member that Northampton, makes the names of applicants for committees public. And so I actually emailed that person, and it turns out it's not in their charter. It's on their application form that they can check a box and allow their name to be public, and then people can go and find that information. So, but it's not in their charter. So we may want to think about whether this is something that would go in the addendum or something. It might be more a procedural thing than a charter thing, but that was an area that people were interested in. First of all, receiving confirmation of receipt of their application and notification of the outcome of the selection process. But then secondarily, or and possibly a different issue, is the names of all applicants will be made public except for those applicants choosing to remain anonymous. The next section, there's sort of 3 edits. There was this question about how do we, we've got the school and the library budgets submitted to the manager by April 1st, but there's no municipal budget at that point, and so then the manager comes back with the whole budget by May 1st, and so there was concern about how do we better have a level playing field or better communication about the various trade-offs that are happening when the council is trying to figure out how to vote on the budget. And so there's 3 suggestions that were addressing that. The first one is we heard that some concern about whether the budget coordinating group, conforming to open meeting law, and it turns out they are. But putting in the section about the budget coordinating group that they shall publicly post agendas, minutes, and meeting calendar, maybe add materials, but so the budget that's one piece, so that people can, again, it's transparency, it's knowing when the budget coordinating group is meeting and what they're meeting about. The second piece of that is to add an initial public forum on the budget earlier, and instead of just saying with the cooperation of the town manager, saying with the cooperation of the town manager, the school superintendent, and the library director, so that we're actually getting information on all, sort of a forum where we can talk about all 3 areas of the budget. And then similarly, right now we have a March forum, but we don't talk about the school superintendent or the library director being involved. So the attempt on this one is to say we're going to have an initial public forum early enough so people can, get a sense of things early, and we're going to hear from the town managers, the superintendent. We're going to hear from the town, the municipal, the schools, and the library. And then similarly, we're going to have another forum, which is the current forum in the charter that currently says by March 15th. We could consider moving the deadline for that one a little earlier to March 1st. And then the Finance Committee has a public hearing in May. So again, this is basically people feeling like they're not able to hear about the budget early enough until it's a fait accompli. And then finally, the Article 5.4a one is, again, to sort of create a level playing field and to also give a chance for the municipal budget to be able to show, what its level service budget might look like when the schools and possibly the library are showing their preliminary budgets, have the municipal budget a preliminary municipal budget be produced by April 1st as well, so that all three preliminary budgets can be seen at the same time, and people can have a sense of what the trade-offs are that the town manager and the town council will be dealing with. So those were three edits that were focused on the interest in having better communication about what the trade-offs are between the different budgets, and trying to get more transparency about how the trade-offs are being made. Then there was some interest in being able to have more dialogue and opportunities for more interaction between people interested in an issue and the town council, or theoretically the school committee or library trustees. And it turns out that the council has created something called a public dialogue, which allows the council to call for a public dialogue that has that informal, just by a vote of the council, it can say, all right, this is an issue that people seem to care about. We can have a discussion. We'll have town staff there. We'll have the council there, and we will invite the public to come and just talk informally. So that language is currently in the council rules of procedure. It seems like a nice addition to the charter to say this is another option for having dialogue and for having public engagement. So I initially put that in what the council had, but then I realized that it didn't include the schools or the library. So I added this, tried to add them as well. And this might be something that Pat could help us with the language, if we thought this was something worth doing. But basically saying, the council, school committee, and or library trustees may hold a public dialogue session at a time and location of their choosing. The convening body or bodies, the town manager, the school superintendent, and or library director, and any appropriate staff, as determined by those people, shall welcome all interested individuals for an informal dialogue session. Public dialogues are meant to provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly interact with elected officials and town staff, and all of them shall comply with open meeting law. So that would be an additional public engagement thing listed in the charter. And then the last one may or may not be what we want to do, but I think what some folks have been encouraging us to do is to say that the townspeople voted for a charter that said the town will have ranked choice voting in it, as part of its operations. So they've already approved within the charter the idea of having ranked choice voting. The council has chosen to ask for a special act from the legislature to make that happen. That has not been acted upon. Advocates are saying, we could just have the council vote based on the language of the special act, and then see if anybody objects to it. I think that's a debatable thing, but we could put that language in the addendum, or we could actually put it as a recommendation, or we could leave it alone. But that responds to the concern about nothing happening with ranked choice voting. So then, the only other things are that we don't have our minutes posted at the approved committee minutes link. We might want to put those there. And then also we talked about possibly renaming the addendum to have it be not just sound like an appendix, but something that's of equal weight to the specific recommendations. Thank you so much, Andy. That's the overview. Yeah.
I just wanted to address the two suggestions on the bottom, which is we will consider renaming the specific charter recommendations tonight, and I have sent Athena every minute link that I have received to be posted at the approved minutes link. So that should either already be up or will be up probably by the end of the week. So both of those have been addressed, if you will. I'm just looking here. I was wondering, Pat, do you have any off the cuff things to be like, oh, this is a big issue, or you should watch out before you vote in favor of that, so on and so forth?
Well, because this is the first time I've seen that, I don't have there's a couple things thoughts that came to mind. One with just going in reverse order, ranked choice voting, you do have an act in the legislature. You can certainly consider recommending that be pursued more aggressively. I think it's probably not something you can do on your own without the legislature acting. But that's for your town attorneys to give an opinion on. So I'm, not really sure how far you can go with that, other than maybe reiterating in your report that, you would like this more aggressively pursued, and find out the status, et cetera. But you do have an act before the legislature now, to approve the ranked choice voting. And the other thing I was thinking of with respect to the public forum, in your current charter, in Article 8, you have the open meeting of the residents, which is raised when you have a request of 200 residents 18 years or older, et cetera. If you were looking to have an additional kind of dialogue option for that, the open meeting, oftentimes you could also say upon the request in writing of 200 residents, or upon we can work on the wording, but initiation by the council, school committee, and library, that you can have these open forums. So if you were going to make that type of change, I would just add it to section 8.1.
Mm-hmm.
But the other things you can certainly discuss. I would say one of the other matters about publishing the names of the people who applied for committees, and who was considered, et cetera. That's usually happens at an open meeting where they make the ultimate decisions. But on the other hand, sometimes it does. On the other hand, that may be too granular for the charter. That may be something that would be in the procedure that is used by the committee, by the resident advisory committee that's helping the town manager come up with this. I think that might not be a charter level issue. I would be a little concerned just about making that a charter obligation when it might be difficult to monitor, who said, yes, we can reveal this, who did not, et cetera. Maybe you can have a recommendation that they be more transparent about this, but I'm not sure if you can write something into the charter that would be clear but not too limiting to the people who are both applying and the people who are making these considerations. But those are just my thoughts. On the other hand, it could be done, and that's certainly something that you can decide raises should be put in the charter instead.
Thank you so much. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, to that point, again, Northampton was mentioned as an example, but they don't actually have it in their charter. It's in their procedure on the form for applying. So, maybe it's more of a procedural level thing and again, I think there's also a judgment call about, the degree to which we want to have the appointing authorities have some discretion about what's going to make a functional committee versus, they could still make the choice even if people are publicized who got it and who didn't, but it may be too granular for the charter.
Yeah, just before I call on Bernie and Marcus, just in the interest of time, I would love it if we made a motion sort of article by article here, and move down the list from Article 2 all the way to the bottom, just to decide to include this in the report, include it in the addendum, not include it. So I'll let Bernie and Marcus, you guys go ahead, and then I think I just want to start with that process in the interest of time.
Yeah, I would agree that this is a bit too granular for the charter. I mean, towns handle this in different ways. Typically, it's Northampton, I think, in my research, I agree with Andy, they have basically a checkbox. You can make this public or keep it quiet. we tend to, Amherst tends to handle these applications as if they were applications for employment, which means they're not disclosed until you've actually had a final interview. So I think it's really something that we should flag as a ongoing issue. But I agree that it's just too granular for the charter, and I would move that we not include Article 3, any reference to Article 3.3, this reference to Article 3.3 in our report as a recommendation.
Marcus?
Yeah, thank you. I was basically going to say what you were saying, Julian. Let's just go line by line. I mean, article by article. Yes, no. And if we want to add some or take some stuff away, then we can do that. But yeah, let's get moving on this.
I guess I'll start with Article 2.
I made a motion regarding 3.3. I'll withdraw it if you prefer.
Okay, we can do the motion on 3.3. That's fine.
Second.
And then we'll go back to 2.
Can you repeat the motion itself?
That we not include this as a recommended change to the charter. But we do emphasize this in our additional recommendations document. What we're calling the addendum right now.
It's a second, Bernie.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Okay. Oh, Marcus?
Sorry, yeah, I agree with what Bernie said.
Okay. I'll move right along with voting. I'll start with Raphael.
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Myself, no.
Mhm.
Marcus?
Yes.
And Bernie?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-1. And then we will move along to Article 2. Do I entertain Erica?
Do we need to have a motion to discuss it, or are we having a discussion about this?
I would rather us make a motion and then discuss the motion, just for efficiency's sake. Marcus?
I make the motion that we accept it as written.
Okay. I'll second that. Erica, did you have a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify which actual article, is it 2? I was looking for the number that this corresponds to specifically.
It would be 2D subsection V. There's currently a subsection V, but this would bump that one down one.
When you say 2D? Oh, you're saying 2.6D. Got it. I just found it.
You're right. 2.6D.
Thank you. Okay, other comments? Marcus?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that just announcing the number of people present does meet a lot of the requests from that we were hearing, have been hearing, without getting into the who's who that a lot of people had, a lot of other people had a lot of concern about. So.
Great. Raphael and then Andy?
So this motion is to include this as a part of the suggested changes, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Andy?
We may want to think about the the specific language about whether it's announced how many people are present or whether in some way it shall be apparent how many people are present. I mean, if you're using a particular it gets into technology and how that might change. So it's just, I mean, if you announced the other night how many people were present, at first there were 2 people, and then there were 8 people, and then there were 12 people, and then later on there were 8 people. And so is there some way that people can, in some technologies, people can just see how many people are present? Otherwise, we can announce how many people are present, but it's not accurate throughout the meeting. So
Yeah,
That part is a little bit, maybe there's some language that we could use that's a little less like
just
clear
just
about whether it's the chair, whether it's the technology, or
just for the purposes of here and now, the town uses Zoom. I can see who's present as host or co-host.
Mhm.
I can see the attendees. I can see the names. Can you all, as panelists, see who's present?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'll allow one of our attendees to speak. Can you all see how many people are here?
No, you can't.
You can't from attendees.
No, you can't see anything. So when I was just coming in, you can't see anything. It's
Okay.
just, you only see the screens of who's, there, like your
I see.
camera. Yeah.
So I would have to announce, but I did announce at the beginning of the meeting, but I'd have to announce like there's 10 people present, 2 attendees.
Yeah, it would be like that. I think the only thing I would suggest is we maybe add at a point in time, right? So you say, announce who's here at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
And, that's it. And then if you choose to, you can say every time somebody does it, but at least we have a specific point in time when there is a known number of people in the room.
A point in time count. I think that's appropriate. I would accept that as a seconder if you made that as like a friendly.
Yeah, no, actually, I'll move to add that a point in time to that first sentence, right? To announce how many persons are present at a specific point in time. And then, honestly, we could leave the definition of that to the council rules, right?
Yep.
They could choose that in the rules. We just specify it's only once or
Goodbye.
whatever. Yeah.
Erica and then Bernie.
Yeah, just thinking about like in the spirit of why these kinds of suggestions were made in the first place, that requesting a sort of a count of remote participants at the beginning of the meeting and or at the beginning of a comment period, because I'm thinking about a public comment period, because I'm thinking about one of the other suggestions that we've included in the for now called addendum, that has to do with making a second comment period before a major vote, as an example. And that would be an interesting place to have a count of remote participants if they aren't visible to those participants. And the other thing I just wanted to add about this, where it says all audience members participating via video, just might want to change that to participating remotely, because it may or may not include a live video. Marcus is here participating remotely, but not with video. We would want to include him in that count and option to participate.
No, but the video part is basically that they wanted people to be visible while speaking. So if somebody's participating by phone, they can't be visible, regardless if they want to or not.
I mean, I could, but my company doesn't allow me to use the camera on my phone.
But because that comes down to a technology question, Andy, to your point earlier, that's why I was saying leaving it to, since we can't write every conceivable configuration of how people might join or what software or what platform might make possible. Participating remotely it could happen in multiple ways.
Okay, so
participating
remotely.
Yeah, I agree. Participating remotely seems better. A lot of people want to keep their cameras off. Some computers don't have ability in the first place. Bernie?
Yeah, just as a matter of information, and Pat, please correct me if I'm wrong, the open meeting law doesn't require you to be seen. It requires you to be heard. So this goes well beyond what the open meeting law would require. And it gets into some technological difficulties. I mean, I've been in I think this is something that is better placed in the soon to be retitled addendum as a motion or as a prompt to the council, rather than making a requirement of it in the in the charter. It just seems to me to be to go way beyond the open meeting law, and I'm just I also have technological concerns about it. I can see challenges coming around. I wasn't anybody right now. Anybody participating remotely can be seen. And interestingly enough, a couple of the participants at the hearing weren't live on the camera. They had images, still images, in their video feed. So you again, this is to me just it's a nice thought. It's something that should be attempted, but I don't want to see it written into the charter as a permanent kind of thing.
Marcus, and then Erica.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I do agree that it's a little over, but all it's saying is you'll be offered the opportunity. So all you say is, if you would like to, you can. It's not a requirement, right? I mean, I guess we get into do people feel like they can fully participate if they aren't on camera? There is always that option. I mean, that issue, I should say, on the flip side. But I think it's addressing concerns, but not actually making a requirement, which to me is fine. It's somewhat performative, but it's fine.
Erica?
Yeah, I think that I take your point, Bernie, but I think that this is, to my reading, while it's technical, it's broad enough to be, if we all agree, or enough of us agree, to be put forward as something for council to vote on for inclusion in the charter, and that maybe that raises it up with enough importance that if they decide that it doesn't belong in the charter, it's still in the discussion for inclusion into the rules and procedure. The fact that we raise it up as important enough to be considered for the charter is of some value, I think, here as for us.
Andy?
I edited to say all audience members participating remotely shall be offered the opportunity. There was some language on if a meeting is held in hybrid or remote format, the chair shall announce how many people are present. Was there something we wanted to change about that? At a particular at the
we were going to get at a given a point in time.
Yeah, Marcus suggested at a point in time. I was suggesting we could say at the start of the meeting and or before any public comment period.
Yeah, I was just suggesting a point in time so that we can leave the definition of that to the council rules.
Yeah,
right?
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of vague though, but
I know that's the idea.
I think at a point in time is fine because the chair can make that decision. I mean, like, it all depends if, like, for example, if I was chairing this meeting and I see 2 people now, and then all of a sudden when we get to section 8, I see 10 people, more people hop on, I'd note that because it shows people care about that specific issue. Okay, I'm gonna move us along to a vote. Myself, I'm an aye. Oh, sorry, Pat. Yeah, go right ahead.
I just wanted to step in and make a suggestion. I foresee times when a Zoom novice is running these meetings and may not be able to get the person on the screen or the technology doesn't work. So if you're going to consider this, I guess for the second where it says all audience members participating remotely, etc., shall be offered the opportunity to be visible while speaking. I would say when reasonably practical, just to kind of give some wiggle room if you're going to mandate that. And the last sentence, if you're voting on the whole thing and not just the first 2 sentences, where it talks about malicious intrusion by non-recognized individuals, etc., visible participation may be revoked. I guess I would say it doesn't say who would revoke it. And it doesn't really define malicious. I guess I would say something to the extent of, in the event that, individuals are not recognized visible participation may be revoked at the discretion of the chair or something like that to indicate who is making the decision of when they can be revoked. And maybe not necessarily say include the malicious as much as if individuals cannot be identified, then visible participation may be revoked.
It's more that they haven't been recognized by the chair. It's
Right.
a Zoom bombing issue, right?
Yeah. Pat, do you have anything further?
No, that's fine. I guess at the minimum, I would say who is doing the revoking. I would say at the discretion of the chair.
I agree. Thank you. And the other thing I was just going to add was I think the when reasonably practical makes a lot of sense because I can think of situations where your Wi-Fi is bad and you need to turn off the camera. You have a computer that doesn't have a camera. You're on your phone. You're at a friend or family's house, etc. So I think like that's an important thing to add. I know we have counselors who aren't always on camera and who participate just like everybody else. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing to keep as reasonably practical. My only other thing is non-recognized individuals. Like theoretically, there could be a recognized individual who decides to Zoom bomb out of frustration or something. I don't know.
I mean, meeting not recognized by the chair. So maybe by individuals who have not been, recognized, meaning allowed to speak.
Yeah, that would be more clear. I just didn't want the confusion where someone's like recognized. You know what I mean? Like, because in town we often have the same people there. So, okay, that looks a lot better.
You might want to say, because it might not be about revoking, but not allowing it in the first place. So visible participation may be disallowed or something like that.
Maybe denied.
Right.
Denied. Yeah.
Perfect. That sounds better. Marcus, do you accept this? You made the motion.
Yeah, I accept the changes, absolutely.
I
As
second.
described and written. Yeah.
I second it. I do as well. I'm going to call the vote if there's not any more comments. Thank you, Pat, for your help wordsmithing this. Myself, I'm an aye. Andy?
Aye.
Bernie?
I'll be a reluctant yes.
Okay. Marcus?
Yeah.
Erica?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Excellent. So Article 5, we've got 3 here and then one more in Article 8. I'll entertain a motion on 5.2 first, since we'll take this one by one.
Question?
Yeah.
If the budget coordinating group is in fact a public body, then they are required to post agendas, minutes.
Yeah, this seems redundant.
So if they're a public body, then they just simply need to be reminded to do that.
I'll say I attended their meeting today, and it was posted perfectly fine. So, I mean, I don't know if that
it's unnecessary if they're public.
It was fine, and I don't see a reason why it isn't. So.
Does anyone recall back to the original comment that brought this out? Why it was, if it's their practice to post agendas,
Yes.
minutes, and materials, why it's what's suggested in the first place?
We got an email from Nina Menken, and she also commented twice at our public forum, and most of the suggestions were along the lines of increasing transparency in the budget process, and allowing for like better communication around school funding, municipal budgets, etc., from the town as well as internally between like the schools, the town, the library, and the public. So I think it's a very meritable and important suggestion given what we're seeing, but with specifically 5.2, I just don't. It's already required, so it's sort of a been there, done that situation.
Do we want to do we want to add anything to the description of the budget coordinating group, just to say, you know, this group shall be subject to open meeting law, or is that just assumed?
No, that's redundant. I mean, it's
It's a multiple member body. Yeah.
Yeah, like anyone else's.
Okay.
Unless there's some sort of record of them not doing so, but I don't recall anything like that.
Okay.
Bernie?
I just want to make another point of clarification. When we talk about school budget, we're talking about the elementary school.
Yes.
We're not talking about the middle or high school, because that's a separate government. And we don't govern them. We ask them, except when it comes to actually giving them money, then we can make some demands for documentation and explanation and the like. But if we say there's going to be a meeting with the school committee, the finance committee, the council, and the library trustees, you're really including only, officially only including the elementary school committee.
BCG does have a regional rep, I think, Anna.
Well, the BCG does have a regional rep, but again, we have to keep in mind that we can't write procedural rules for another government. We can invite them in, we can try to accommodate them, but we can't write the rules for them, at least in my perspective.
No, I get where you're coming from. Andy?
I guess I'm wondering then, in terms of preparing the budget, there's the regional assessment, which is based on the regional budget. Does that get submitted to the manager by April 1st?
Yes.
The proposed budgets adopted by the Amherst School Committee, Regional School Committee, and Library Trustees will be submitted to the town manager not later than April 1st. That's section 5.4.
Yep.
So they are submitting their proposed budget. You know, we're telling them that they have to do that even though they're a separate entity.
So let's just go back to 5.2. I'm going to make the motion that we disregard just the edit to 5.2.
Second.
Okay. Myself, I'm an aye. Andy?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Marcus? Marcus? On mute, I think. Erica?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes. Yes.
We got him. There we go. Okay, perfect. So now we have Article 5.3, which is add an initial public forum on the budget not later than January 30th. I think this might need a little bit of wordsmithing, but for the purposes of discussion, I will make a motion that we approve an additional initial public forum on the budget in consultation or cooperation with the town manager, school superintendent, and library director. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion?
Just to note that currently the language says with the cooperation of the town manager, you know, the president of the town council with the cooperation of the town manager shall call at least one public forum on the topic of the proposed budget. So what this is saying is that it would be the president of the town council with the cooperation of the town manager, the superintendent, and the library director, so that it's clear that we're having a discussion of all pieces of the budget.
Yep. Other comments, questions? No? Okay. We'll move along voting on this. Myself, I'm an aye. Andy?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Raphael?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
and Marcus. I'm just going to ask you to unmute there.
Yes. Sorry.
Perfect.
Fighting with the button.
Okay, 5.4. So our manager shall develop a preliminary municipal services budget by April 1. This isn't the full town budget. This is just the municipal side of the budget. And before, I just want to keep in mind what Andy just said, which is the schools and the library already submit by April 1. So this is just giving the town manager the same deadline so that it's an even playing field across the three. I'll make a motion to add this. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, Bernie?
Yeah, again, it says preliminary, which I think is important because I could be wrong, I haven't looked at this in a while. There's a statutory deadline for the manager or the mayor to submit a budget to the council. And I think that April 1st date, April Fool's, is early, but it does say preliminary. It says preliminary for all the budgets, so people can, what people are getting is the first draft in effect.
We need to make it April 2nd so that the town manager doesn't play with us. Okay, I will. Any other comments? Nope. Okay. Myself, I'm an I. Bernie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Excellent. So on to Article 8. This is an addition. It might be a little wordsmithing, but I'm in favor of it. I'm gonna again make the motion to insert this new section in 8.1. Do I have a second?
I'd like to consider Pat's suggestion, which is that we have language that allows for a group of folks to submit signatures to get an open meeting of the residents, but maybe we could just say upon the request in writing of 200 residents or a vote of a majority of the council, then we cover it. And
that makes a lot more sense.
It already talks about the library.
Yeah, just add that. Yes.
Eric, Pat.
I would suggest because you're talking about for 8.1, you're talking about open meetings submitted to town council, school committee, or library. You may want to say, as Andy said, upon the request in writing concerning matters upon which a requested body may act, and add, or upon the body's own motion, because then the school committee, the library trustees, or the town council could call one of these sessions, if that's what your intent is.
That is, I think, our intent. Thank you, Pat.
So just
language?
after that comma, include or upon the body's own motion.
The body's own approved motion?
Motion.
Sure, or you can say upon a majority vote. I was mimicking the language that is further on down when in the submission of other matters. 8.6 says the town council may of its own motion submit to the voters this thing. So
Okay.
I was just mimicking that language, but you could also you could also say upon, a majority vote by the body.
Okay. That's clearer for people, I think.
Okay.
But I'm just going to chime in. We want to make sure that it's still clear that this is an informal dialogue between the council and the public. Like, I don't want it to be like, I don't know. I sort of feel like that should be included somewhere. Erica?
Yeah, I actually was going to raise the same issue, which is that revising the language in the way that was just suggested, I think is good. But I think the sort of the kind of character of what's described here in this proposed language is different than what's in 8.1 now. The idea of an informal dialogue, is really, it feels different than the way it's currently set up in 8.1. And the emphasis on direct interaction, which before we got here, I was going to raise the question of like how open meeting law actually impacts here, and whether it being subject, does it have to be subject to open meeting law, in what ways, and does that actually tie the hands of the idea of an informal dialogue?
As long as you post the agenda saying that it's going to be an informal dialogue, then that's open meeting. Yeah.
Well, in any case, there's something that's like in a different character about an informal dialogue
Mm-hmm.
than I think what is suggested here currently.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. This is sort of, we're acting on the fly because that's what the time we have. But do we change the title of this to public dialogue and add something about and modify the language so that it's more about the informal conversation, or do we leave this one the way it is, that 200 residents can call for something on a specific issue, but then we have this new section, public dialogue? How different is it?
I feel like there's some difference just because we say that we're explicitly saying we want a public dialogue. And I do sometimes think that members of the public feel like a public dialogue is missing. So, I mean, I think at least for clarity among folks in town, it would be good to have it say public dialogue and sort of make that a clear, separate thing in my mind. Erica?
Yeah, I was thinking about like where we got into part of the conversation at the public forum the other night, and the sort of problem, the repeated, refrain of frustration with the idea that public comment happens in a particular way where one person gets up and speaks at a time, no one responds, and then the people who are running that meeting, whether it's committee or council, respond sort of to everything at once, and then there's timing questions and everything else. So if those kinds of constraints are repeated here, I think we've defeated the purpose of what might be a good improvement, a good possibility for a different kind of conversation, a different kind of something like conversation, which is what currently can't happen in public comment periods and other kinds of forums. So I don't know if we can repair all of that with this one paragraph. But I just wanted to say I'm not sure that if we just fold in a couple of words about who can call the meeting, I don't think it does anything to repair that problem.
I agree. Thank you, Erica. Andy?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking that the town council added this as a specific thing in addition to the things that are listed in the charter. So in their procedure, rules of procedure, they came up with this public dialogue, and I think then they list all the other things that are in the charter. So maybe there is something different about it enough that message wise, maybe it's important to have its own thing. I mean, I don't know. I defer to Pat in some ways on this, but I also think that maybe there's some messaging that what I'm hearing is that there may be some value in, even if it's a little bit overlapping, it might look a little more open to have this listed as a public dialogue, and then there's free petition, and then there's the other things.
Marcus, do you mind if I chime in with one thing and then let you go ahead?
That's fine.
I was just gonna say that I mean, I don't think this has ever been used.
Yeah, I don't think it has.
So making it somehow more public or more known about among both members of the public and town councilors if they want to use it by putting in the charter, which presumably many town councilors read before joining council. It might be a good idea. At least make it known, like, hey, these are your rights as a counselor. Marcus and then Erica.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't see that this has the same like 50-50 requirement that the forum has that was written into the charter. You know, I think this is good. I support just the quick change to what's already existing to make it more, make us or less work on our part, I guess. But I think that's the way forward more than completely rewriting things.
Erica?
I was wondering if this is about a definition, because public forum is defined so narrowly, even though we're making a recommendation that it's defined slightly differently. Maybe it comes down to a public dialogue being defined differently back in Article 1.
Yeah. Bernie?
Yeah, I think Eric has a good idea there about a definition change earlier on. And the other thing is that, as the late Bob Ritchie would point out, the charter is not the sole governing document of the town of Amherst. The rules and procedures of the council are part of that, as are the bylaws. And I think it may be timely and just, I don't know if this will resolve, it won't resolve this question, but I think going forward that the rules and procedures of the council should be distributed and as available as copies of the charter are, and that when copies of the charter are printed or distributed, rules of the procedures of the council go along with them as an addendum, because they're also a governing document. And I think that would give people a good sense of how flexible the council can be if it chooses. Again, this is a choice on the part of the council. The choice will be whether they include this or not in any revision of the charter, but also whether they're going to follow it. So that's a thought.
Thank you. Marcus and then Andy?
I love Bernie's idea, for once. No, sorry. No, I think it's a great, thing. The charter is not the sole document that is in the town, and so we should present everything as such, right? I think that would be a great inclusion in our addendum to push for an addendum that is always included when the charter is published.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I would just note that the rules of the town council are just the rules for the town council, and this talks about the school committee or the library trustees also being able to have this kind of public dialogue. And I don't think it hurts to offer that. I think it responds to a real concern that we've heard. And I think it would help the council or the school committee or the library trustees when something comes up and it's like we need to be able to respond and hear and have a less constrained conversation. I think this is a really good offering. And the fact that the town council came up with it as an idea and then they sort of forgot about it or have not chosen to use it means that elevating it perhaps beyond the rules might be a way to give it more of a spotlight.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. And I think like beyond, obviously the council could use it on many different things, but I can think of situations where the school committee would use it on the budget or on the some of the issues around the treatment of LGBTQ kids at the middle school, or the library trustees would use it around the library renovation project. I think it would apply good opportunity for them to engage with the public more and sort of at least get people answers to questions. Marcus?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to be clear. I wasn't saying we take this out and just put it in the thing, the addendum to a charter. I think this is a deserved part of the charter, if nothing more than just to make it everybody more aware of it. But I do think that we should, push for inclusion of the other rules as part of a charter package, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on this? No? Okay. So I'll make the motion that we adopt it as written here rather than the amended discussions. So do I have a second for that?
Second.
Great. I'll move us along with voting myself. I'm an aye. Marcus?
Raphael has a question.
Sorry, Raphael.
So we're adding this as a new section as a new part to section 8.
Yep. As
Alright.
There already is an 8.1, so are we?
This,
Yeah, Eric is asking what I'm trying to ask.
We're adding language to 8.1, right?
Oh, we're adding language
Yeah.
to 8.1?
Exactly.
or this would be the new 8.1 maybe? I mean,
Is
Would be like an addition within 8.1, I believe.
that what we're voting?
Yes.
So an addition to 8.1?
Yep.
wait, but we have individual things for open meeting of the residents, free petition, initiative measures. Are we just saying that I would think this would be section 8.1 would be this, and section 8.2 would then be open meeting of the residents.
Oh, so we just move everything down after.
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
it's another option.
No, that's a better option. I think it might make more sense to people. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you, Andy. Yep. Do I have I guess, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Is that clear what we're voting on for people? Thumbs up. Great. Okay, I'm an aye. Bernie,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Marcus,
Yes.
Raphael, you're muted.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Erica, no problem.
Yes.
And Ken.
Yes.
Excellent. So 10.10. We've in the addendum, we already have it so that we're asking to reemphasize ranked choice voting as well as many of the other issues such as participatory budgeting that have not seen the light of day, so to speak, but are still on the table. I feel like why would we make it more? Would we pick out ranked choice voting and go harder on that versus some of the other issues that we include in the addendum that haven't been done yet that we are advising be worked on? So that's my take. Erica, and then Marcus.
Yeah, my question about this, before we motion one way or the other, is I've heard so many different things about the status of this action, like about ranked choice voting specifically. I've heard that it's hung up at a sort of state level. I've heard that it really doesn't need certain kind of state action, that it just needs movement or action at the local level and everything in between. And Pat, I don't know if there's anything that you can sort of illuminate about where this stands. I would love to really, before I say one way or the other, as our committee, whether it's just a matter of saying continued advocacy or more aggressive advocacy or something of substance that we can say to the council, vote up or down on a thing that we put into language. I would just really love to clarify what is the status of this right now.
Well, according to all I know about the bill is that there's on 10/28/25, there was a hearing scheduled for 11/13/2025. That's what I can see when I look at the status. I don't know what the results of the November 13th, 2025 hearing were. So I guess if you're looking for a recommendation, I would say asking for an update on the pending bill, on the pending act, as well as in encouraging the council to possibly speak with their senators and representatives and find out, what's going on with this. It's really something that needs to be pursued with the representatives and senators who are pushing this forward. So, that would be a discussion between them. But you could ask for an update. I don't know. There was a hearing scheduled, as I mentioned, for November 13th. And so I don't know who attended or what the outcome of that was.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Thank you, Pat. That is helpful. Marcus?
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of with Erica. I worry that the voices that say, "Oh, it just needs local action," is so that it will force the hand of the state to sort things out. And I'm concerned that if things go the other way and it is not approved, we now have a charter effectively that is illegal. So, putting it in specifically before we have the backing of the state is concerning to me. And I think we need an update before we can kind of really, push to include it in the charter, more so than just saying, hey, let's advocate for it.
Yeah, the State House is notoriously slow. Bernie and then Erica.
Yeah, I would concur with Marcus. I think it's we need to talk to our rep, who's a very effective person. We need to talk to our senator and urge them to move stuff through the legislature. The legislature certainly believes that they are the only body that can approve this. And I think if the council went ahead and voted an action to establish ranked choice voting in Amherst, we would find ourselves wasting our precious money on lawsuits. And I would prefer not to do that.
I agree. Erica?
So if I understand it, it's a matter of we don't know actually where the state is currently in their timeline. And we need to wait for a certain thing to happen at the state level before we can take action locally, even though there's been local support expressed for this in various ways. Then, to Pat's point earlier, then I feel like just simply leaving it to encouraging the council is a little toothless. I think what we could do is to ask for an update by given date, a public update of some kind. So because it's not really up to it shouldn't be up to the public to sort this all out. If council is the one involved in advocacy and next steps.
Yeah, thank you. Andy and then Bernie.
Yeah, I put this together just, I put this on the list because it came up. And I'm not sure that I don't know what I feel about it. I guess the reason that it's a little bit higher priority is because, participatory budgeting, we said, study it and propose something. Other topics for study are just other topics of potential study. This one, we actually said, have a commission to come up with a plan, and the council will adopt a proposed measure with or without amendments within 90 days of receipt. So we were basically saying, and that may have been unrealistic because the way of making it happen is through the state. So I don't know if we need to change that or if it's okay to just leave that alone. And in the addendum, we have, continued advocacy on this because, it has been acted upon. I guess that the council established a commission, the commission produced a report, the council, approved sending it to the state to get it to happen. And so maybe that's all that can happen. I mean, and putting it in the addendum to say continued advocacy is appropriate.
Yeah, sorry, I think Andy, you hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, we've brought the horse to water, but we can't make him drink. And the state is, has had this thing in committee so many years that you just lose count. It just goes to committee. It just goes to committee every year. So I think, yeah, we can. I think we just probably strengthen our language around the increased advocacy for it. Because we can't put this in and be told no, you're not doing it ever, and then we have this bit of dead charter that's just hanging out there that now somebody can now sue us for because we're not completing our charter, but the charter is not complete because the state says you can't do it. So it's like this never-ending circle.
Thank you. Bernie?
Well, I'd ask folks to recall, because I researched the transition section of the charter and sent everybody a short note basically saying the council completed the transition section. They may not have completed it as thoroughly as everybody liked, but in terms of ranked choice voting, they organized the committee, they acted on the committee's report. Their action was to file a home rule petition. The home rule petition went nowhere because the legislature basically said, we're not going to let one town in the state do this. We're going to either have everybody do it or nobody do it. So, or everybody have the chance to do it or nobody do it. So we're going to study this. So the council, the council completed what they needed to do at the time. So I think they could file another home rule petition, but that's sort of a waste of time and effort because we know where it's going to end up. It'll sit in committee for 2 years and then disappear, which is what happened to the original home rule petition. So encouraging them to continue the effort, encouraging them to outreach to Senator Comerford and our representative, Mindy Dome. I think is the best thing we can do right at the moment. And I also think we spend enough time talking about this, so we should move on.
I agree with the last point. I'll just say, I guess that I think the best thing to do with this is just, does someone want to make a motion of how we dispose of this and get on with it? Erica?
I'm going to make a motion that it stays in the addendum with some rephrasing.
I second.
Yet to be determined.
I second that. Okay. For the sake of time, I'll move straight to voting. Raphael?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Marcus? I'll come back to you.
And I'm a yes.
Perfect. No problem. Andy?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
And Erica?
Yes.
Excellent. That's unanimous. I'm just going through here. Postal committee, that's been done. So rename, I'll make the motion that we rename the addendum additional recommendations. Do we have a second?
For the sake of discussion, yes.
Great. I thought this was just pretty simple. It makes it clearer, makes the addendum a little bit more, have some weight to it. I think, in my mind, addendum seems sort of like, oh, also look at this, whereas we want to make it sound a little bit more formal for the final report, I guess would sound better, but that's just my opinion. I'm gonna run and grab my computer charger so it doesn't die, but I'll call on Erica and then Ken.
So my comment is that if I'm 100% behind changing the name to additional recommendations or something like that, with the understanding that we're calling it additional recommendations because we're going to stand behind some of the things that we're putting in there as actual recommendations that we want to put a little bit of weight behind and ask council to respond to and or vote on. So I think it's not just a name change. I think it changes the nature of how we pitch some of the things that are currently included in the addendum, which are now just sort of collections of of things that didn't quite meet a charter language revision standard that we set for the other recommendations. So we're making, but if we're calling it additional recommendations, I just want to say, let's live up to that. Let's take on some of the things that are in the addendum and revise them in the same way that Andy has done this draft for us to be able to vote on, to include as recommendations that we'd actually like council to take up with an up or down vote.
So just I have a comment, but I wanted to respond to you, Erica, with Julian still out. Are you saying that you want to add to the 18 recommendations to review the addendum?
No, I do not want to add to the 18 recommendations. Those are things that are fully contained inside of articles to the charter. So I'm not saying, we've already agreed that those things, except for the things that we've added tonight, we're not necessarily changing. What I'm suggesting is that the things that ended up in the addendum were kind of collections of other kinds of comments that didn't rise to necessarily specific revisions of charter articles.
Yeah.
But that we heard repeatedly and in different ways, that we wanted to represent well what we heard. But right now, as an addendum, it's just like, hey, we also heard this, by the way. And it doesn't have a lot of weight behind it to require or to strongly request that council take some action on them.
Okay.
Whatever they are. And so what I'm suggesting is that if we want to call this section additional recommendations, which I'm all for, just to be clear, I just think we need a little bit more work that can't happen in the next 20 minutes, but I just think it just needs a little bit more work to make those things into things that we can actually agree that we're recommending, because I don't think we did that piece of work for the things currently in the addendum.
Okay. So I'll just make my comment. I don't have any other sort of follow-ups. So I'm a marketing guy, so words are important. And I think that it may be important for everybody here, but we're calling the 18 recommendations. I initially was going to say, well, why don't we call them suggestions? But that's weak. Secondary recommendations. I don't want to bring them up to the level of a recommendation. I know I'm being really picky about this, but I don't want to call them recommendations, or I want to qualify them as secondary recommendations or minor recommendations or something like that, because they don't rise to the level of those 18. But I want to bring them up from, oh, by the way, these things were said too. So that's my comment.
Hi, I'm back. Thank you, Ken. I turned my volume up so I could hear what Erica and Ken said. This generated more discussion than I expected, but that is okay. Raphael, then Marcus, then Andy.
I'm going to follow what Ken shared in terms of suggested or additional recommendations could also be confusing. I like the subtitle that's here in terms of issues beyond a charter document. I don't know what we call it, but I think it could be tricky to note additional recommendations. That could be confusing.
Could I share the document so we can see what we have now?
Yep. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Where is it?
Marcus?
Yeah, thank you. I can we just call it non-charter recommendations? Right? They're recommendations. They're not charter language. They're non-charter recommendations. I think just calling them additional recommendations does get it confusing. Or well, they're charter recommendations. So this whole thing's a charter commission. No, we need to bring them up. I agree completely with what Erica was saying. They have strength, and we need to do that. Just call them non-charter recommendation or just something that just makes it clear in the title. Because I agree that like the additional recommendations part that we call the subtitle was good, but it's a bit too wordy for a title. I mean, honestly, could we not just call it issues beyond the charter document or recommendations beyond the charter document instead of issues?
I got the sense people were objecting to recommendations.
Well, it's qualified though. I mean, no, it wasn't.
No, it was just the broad recommendations term. If we
Yeah.
qualify it like this is
Okay.
outside the charter, I'm totally good with that, because I agree with you, Erica. There's a lot of thought into it, and these are important items to a lot of people, and we're making recommendations. Hey, you should consider X, Y, and Z, and what have you throughout this document. I just think it just needed that little extra tweak to the qualification to appease Ken and his marketing-ness.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no need for hostility.
Bernie?
Yeah, well, in my my managerial or policy wonky sense, I didn't like the term recommendations either, because some of these are not recommendations; they're observations. Look at the structural changes. We observed that there are some people that want a mayor council form of government. There are some people that want to return to town meeting. There are some people that want a smaller council. There are some people that want a larger council. Those aren't recommendations. Those are things that people have talked about and we've observed, and we said we would report them because they're important to at least some folks. So I think we need to come up with a title that lets the council know that we've paid attention to a lot of different ideas. Some of these merit ongoing or more immediate attention because they relate to how we're governed in the here and now, and not to whether or not we want to go back to town meeting. I saw our, I thought I made this real clear. I saw our role is not to debate the form of government, but to improve what we have in the document. So, I think calling it an addendum does a disservice to all the work that's gone into this and into crafting this piece. So I would, issues beyond the charter document, or challenges beyond the charter document, something like that would be fine by me. But I wouldn't. I would join with Ken the marketer in avoiding the term recommendations.
Marcus, do you still have your hand up for something else?
I do. I mean, I was just going to clarify. I wasn't saying we would put it exactly as written. Erica had mentioned that maybe we need to reword some things to make them more recommendation-y. But, the case is, what do you do for a recommendation for this? I do agree. It's a bit, do we say you have to listen to everybody on this sort of stuff? Probably not. So, yeah, I mean, I also take issue with the word issues, because some of them aren't issues. I do like the word challenges. I mean, we could say discussions beyond the charter, but then that kind of just like meh. So it's a discussion. Yeah. Well, now we're getting into wordsmithing like a million, and yeah, I'm done. Sorry.
Thanks, Marcus. No problem. I have my own comment, and then I'll let Erica, then Andy, then Raphael. Which is, I went and asked AI and said, give me other words for appendix that are more forceful, if you will. Addendum, thank you. That are more forceful, and I copy pasted the context of this issue. It recommended recommendations outside the town charter and charter adjacent recommendations as ways to wordsmith it. I don't know if anyone likes that. It's just throwing it out there. Erica?
I have such a particular aversion to what AI comes up with. I'm just gonna like put that aside, but okay, I get it. I was thinking about the comment that Bernie made about observations. So here's the issue. The things that the addendum contains, some will just come down to observations. Some will come down to just things we observed in the process. You know, it's sort of like from our photo album of the road trip of the charter review year. We also observed, like, there's a lot of things we took action on, and there's a lot of things that we observed, and we're noting those for the record that they happened. And then some of the things, what I'm suggesting is that need a translation into being actionable. Then that's a terrible word, but it is what I'm implying is that what I'm suggesting here is that some of these things need to be translated into actionable items so that they have a little bit more heft when they're put before council. And I don't know if that's useful language for a title, but if recommendations is, you know, not something people like, then
Can we say
maybe something
recommendations and
actionable items.
observations
Sorry?
beyond the chart? Can we say recommendations and observations beyond the charter? I mean, it hits both nails on the head. Bernie's about to say something. So,
Andy, then Raphael, then Marcus. I just want to keep an eye on the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a number of things that are in the form of recommendations, and a lot of those are sort of in the public engagement issues. So make clear the variety of ways residents have for participating, revisit the practice, you know, greater level of detail in budget documents. And then we have these things that are sort of structural changes that are more things that we heard that were not necessarily, they can't change these things through this form, but there are things that are out there in case other people want to think about, raising them. So I think that the language is if it can be actionable, I think it's actionable now. I'd hate to do an awful lot of wordsmithing on that. So I'm just thinking that it's more a matter of getting rid of the word addendum and making it seem like giving this the prominence that it deserves without making it sound like they're exactly like the specific changes that we listed up above. So maybe it's observations and recommendations beyond the charter document. I mean, that's a little unwieldy, but it's accurate.
What about? Oh, sorry, Raphael, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess some feel like addendum is problematic. I've heard that. I love your framing language, the framing language that's here. I wish people would center that. To me, like, this part of this report is much about like improving our government. And I don't mind issues. A lot of issues were raised connected to improving our government beyond the charter document. But I just think like, I get the addendum concern, but I think like what matters much is just making folks aware, like these are outside the scope of the charter document, and there's a lot in here that hopefully people attend to.
Thank you. Erica?
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah.
Raphael, it's a good point, and just to come back to your exact phrasing, it's what I hope people attend to.
Yeah.
And it's the hope part that I'm left with a kind of like, I think there's language in here in the prose of this section that says these are worthy of an answer, but I don't know, without putting something in front of our main audience, the council, to say this is something you could take action on. I'm not sure what will happen. And at that point, it's out of our hands, but I'm not sure if the committee currently, agrees that whether there's an opportunity here to put a little bit more forcefulness behind this request.
Yeah, I just want to chime in here, and then I'll let Marcus and Andy speak. I think, in my mind, there is some area where we could increase the forcefulness of this document, add some teeth to it. Just throw out some thoughts I had. How would folks feel about either recommendations for additional consideration or recommendations for additional consideration and put and or action? So we say you could act on this, but we're making it more ambiguous than a very clear recommendation as is said above. I don't know, maybe that will get us closer to some resolution in the last 6-7 minutes of our meeting. But I'll turn it over to Marcus and then Andy.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was going to ping off what Raphael said. I think he had a great turn of phrase, if he remembers it, because I'm not quite 100% sure what he said, but it really resonated with me. It was something around, this is additional means to improve government.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly what we're trying to do with this whole report.
Yeah.
And these are, whether they're recommendations, observations, or whatever, it's that.
Yeah.
I think that's what this section is. It's additional means to address government improvement or something like that, because this structural changes part, we're not saying go back to town meeting. We're saying people, because we're calling for this. So how would you address it? It is a philosophical part of the report, and I think we need to kind of address it as such. And the true outcome that people are looking for is improvement to government.
Yeah.
And that is what this section touches upon, that is improvements to government outside of the Charter Commission. And so I think that's where, not Charter Commission, outside of the Charter. So I think that's really kind of, that really resonated with me when you said that. So
yeah. I actually think we've heard that from a lot of folks. And I think there are folks who the charter is difficult to understand. You heard that often. We were sort of constrained by the charter document in terms of adaptations, but a lot of the suggestions here are much about like improving our government. And there are a lot of issues connected to that hopefully are attended to.
Andy?
Yeah, I was gonna before that comment, I was gonna suggest that we just change it to additional issues of importance beyond the charter document. But now I'm hearing this, and maybe it's additional suggestions for improving Amherst government.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
that's exactly it. Yeah. I hope you wrote that down when you said it.
Additional suggestions for improving Amherst government.
Pat?
But
This is just the editor in me making just a tweet. What if you how about just beyond the charter, improving Amherst government or something like that?
There you go.
Putting beyond the charter and then, an M dash, improving Amherst government or improving local government.
I agree. That's well put.
I love it.
It's on for Eric.
Great.
Would you, Pat, I don't know, mind either saying that so Andy can write it down on his screen or sending me an email with that language?
I can do both. I think you got that, Andy. Just beyond the charter dash improving Amherst government.
Excellent.
Erica,
Raphael?
what do you think, Erica?
That sounds good to me. I wrote it down also. I don't know if we've concluded this or I had one other issue about the former addendum, before we close.
Raphael, did you have a comment?
I was just going to share, like, this section definitely has to have some language about beyond the charter. Otherwise, it's tricky. It's been named. So I'm fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I can't retype on this one as a PDF.
That's okay. That's okay.
We can add it on the Word document.
Pat, if you want to send me an email, that's excellent.
Like we have it.
Okay, perfect. Great. Then I guess that solves that. Do we want It's in writing anyway, so I don't think we need to take a vote unless people feel strongly. Erica, you had one more point.
Yeah, I just had one more thing to say about this section. If you all recall, when I spoke up about the addendum last time, we talked about how there was two additional sections. One was some language around what we hope to see in a council response, and one was a kind of review of the review process, which is our feedback as committee members to council about what this process was like, what worked, what didn't, and how to better set up the next charter review committee. So revisions to the beyond the charter section and revisions to the existing beyond the charter section and the addition of those two is work that I agreed to contribute to the final report. It would be great to have someone willing to act as an editor or co-editor to like bring that to the finish line before the 29th. And the other thing I wanted to say is, aside from someone raising their hand to be a co-editor, the part about reviewing our process and what we think we'd like to say to the next committee or before the formation of the next committee, I would like to ask everyone to consider that question and send an email of how this process could be framed better and set up differently for the next group of 9 that gets going on this in 10 years. And so that now's the time, right, to send comments to put into this section. So if you could send that, I can form it into part of this last word.
I'll send you one suggestion, Erica. Which is, do not elect me or another busy college student. Erica and then Bernie.
You mean
Andy? Sorry.
Let's see. Erica, I was going to suggest, if you want, could you send us what you had drafted or what had been drafted before, so that we can see that and then we can add to it.
Yep.
And then while I'm recognized, I have the Word document that's formatted so that, we get landscape where we want landscape and portrait where we want portrait. So that might be the document that should be edited into, and then we can turn it into a PDF, and then it'll look good for everybody. So I don't know how we want to deal with that. I can be the one making the edits, or I can send the Word document out to, and Erica, you can use that for whatever you want to do in the addendum.
That would be good.
I can throw in whatever we said tonight, and then distribute that. I'll put together whatever you do with the addendum and then send it to everybody. Does that make sense as a way to proceed?
Yeah.
You send me a Word document.
Yeah.
And then I send you language to put back in.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or send me an edit, or edit your part of it, and then I'll just take that. So
okay.
And I just got your email, so thank you, Pat. Bernie and then Marcus.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Andy, because you have the Word document, if you could add the changes that we made tonight to that recommendation matrix. And I'll make sure that you get data on the votes if you want to include the votes in that thing. And once you've made those changes, I can take a look at them and rewrite the introductory narrative. If we've added, did we end up adding a recommendation or two? I don't. We started with 18. Are we still at 18? So if you can rewrite that matrix, we can get a better handle on it, and then I'll try to complete the and Marcus will chip in, I'm sure, complete the introductory narrative, and that can get added to the mix.
We're just for clarification, we're at 23 recommendations now. And Raphael. Yep.
Yeah, since we're closing, could we be clear about who's doing what? And I don't know if we talked about like the additional rationale writing for the final report. I don't know if we're doing that I don't know where we are with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to share two things. First is unrelated, that I think for our first presentation of the town council on the 5th, we can sort of just amend the 2 slideshows that we have made, and use those for that presentation. And if we need to, 1 or 2 of us can get together and create another presentation for the meeting on the 12th. And then I also just wanted to highlight, I know it wasn't in the packet, that Pat was nice enough to write up a sort of 1-pager on what the Collins Center did for us, and that will be included in the final report, both to recognize and thank them for their contributions, and also to sort of make it clear what the town council got when it voted to approve that $15,000. Raphael and then Andy?
Yeah, so could we move to primary writers of the final report? People
Yes.
adding rationale focus. There's some additional narrative needed to be added to the beginning. Where are we with who's handling that? Do those folks need an editor? Erica asked about it. Could we be clear about who's doing what?
Yeah, thank you. Andy?
I'm willing to add the rationales that are in the slides for the draft rationales, and I'm willing to add what we voted tonight into the chart and to the summary list. And then I can send that out. I don't know if I can do it tomorrow though. I could probably do it Saturday or sometime this weekend. I can send that out. I can send out what we have now so that Erica can work on the addendum part, or the formerly known as the addendum. And then as soon as possible, I can get the changes in and the rationale in, and then I'll send that out and then, Bernie, I guess you can work from that or whatever.
Yep.
We have a narrative. I'm happy to help with formatting once I get that, Andy, just to put it all where it needs to be, try to make it look a little bit better, combine the narrative with the rationale, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and Raphael, if you, as we go, and I'm including Marcus in this, as we redo that narrative, be happy to send it off to you for you to make it better.
Yeah, I was going to say I can do some proofreading too, but Raphael's probably better at that than I am.
I don't know.
Well, we know that Raphael is published, right?
Right.
It's all good.
He's also, I don't know if you trained as a historian. I did. I wouldn't let anybody hold that against historians, the fact that I trained as one, but that being able to do narrative is something that should come with the profession.
I think we're close. Who's helping Erica with the editing of that section? I don't know if folks volunteered.
I was going to ask just for clarification from Erica what she's asking for the editing.
I was asking 2 things. One is for input on the last 2 sections, which I will send you what I've got drafted. That's for everybody. That's a request for input for those sections, so it's not just me writing something. And for a kind of revision of the beyond the charter section, if there's a way to translate some of those things into some stronger language that can be interpreted as a call to action or an actionable item, as opposed to some of those bullet points read more like observations currently. So I'm suggesting that every section needs touched, but
I want to do it.
Perfect. Ken, thank you. I was about to say Meg's interested in the addendum, but we already have Ken, so thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
All right, so at our next meeting, we will, it appears, given the amount of people who are willing to work on this, have a draft final report for us to approve. And at that time, we can also look at the slideshow. to present to the town council, and that'll be a wrap. So, Erica?
Last question, has that meeting on the 29th been approved by Athena?
Athena will post it. Yep.
Okay.
I emailed her. She said that that's fine. I'll get her. It's on the 29th, so I'm going to see. I'll get her the meeting the weekend after, or the weekend of the 27th. I'll get her that agenda by the 26th, so it can be posted. Marcus?
Yes, thank you. I may be calling in from America Junior. So I may or may not, I should say. Yeah.
No problem. Great. All right. I will.
I would check with Athena about when she can post it, because I think town hall is closed on the 26th.
Oh, good point. Then I will send it because I'll send it by the 23rd.
Yeah.
That will give her time and not interrupt the holidays. Yep, I'll post it on the 23rd. Thanks for catching that, Vern. Okay, excellent. Do I have a motion?
This is quick, Julian. Before we end, thank you to Pat, Collins Center. We might forget. Thank you all. It's a lot of work involved in this. We're almost there. Good work.
Yeah, and I know this is Pat's last meeting, so thank you for all your contributions, and thank Anthony as well.
Yeah.
Been really helpful to have your insight, Pat.
Yeah, Pat, it's certainly appreciated. And I've had some small history with the Collins Center and seen some of the work that you folks have done, and it's a very valuable resource. So it's greatly appreciated.
You're here.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been a pleasure, and you've been a tremendous committee. It's really a joy to work with. So if you need anything else, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sending that email, Andy. I just got it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And thanks, college student chair.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great. Second. Bernie?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Myself, I'm an aye. And Raphael?
Yes, let's get out of here. Bye, folks.
Aye.
Bye, thank you. Thanks, Pat.